Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is October 1st, 2021, and today is Friday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ both tumbled yesterday. 800 points on the Dow Jones. But first, looking at the major economic events of the day at 2:30 South African time. Out of the United States, we have a very important inflationary report, the monthly core price index number coming out. And then at 4 p.m., ISM Manufacturing PMI number coming out of the United States as well. So looking at the various markets, starting out with the Forex symbols, US dollar continues to strengthen as the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ both tumble, and commodities, gold bounces, but doesn't look specifically strong. We're going to take a look at that in just a second. Oil pretty much unchanged. And looking at the stocks, it's the tech stocks that lead the market lower, while JP Morgan remains strong. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin, top of the range. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So going to start out with a weekly chart of the Euro USD, and I'm going to do a weekly again just because I want to highlight how important this is. I mean, this is really colossal. We haven't been here since July of 2020 last year, okay, where we've made this massive correction, okay? So this is really a very important level for us to be here right now. And if we do break this area, we continue to slide, we could definitely be back in this 112-ish area. So something to consider if the Dow Jones continues to sell off, which it looks like it's going to. Now, looking at the GBP USD, also on a weekly chart, you could see that follow through on a 134.52, but it's consolidating here. If we look at a 4-hour chart, you can see that that consolidation is actually happening. Now, before we jump into the Dow Jones, which is a major news, let's look at gold. Gold is still in a downwards trend, okay? Even though it bounced yesterday, I know it bounced, but it's still in a downwards trend, okay? That is the trend line, okay? That's 3 trend lines right there. If it does break this area, 1760, then I would reconsider it, okay? It does have this double bottom at 1723. So that is also a couple things to consider here, okay? All together with the price of gold as the markets are digesting this massive sell-off in the Dow Jones. Now, looking at crude oil, we had a nice spike yesterday, but couldn't sustain it. Okay, which means that it's pretty much leveled off, and I do expect it to trade sideways for quite some time. Now, jumping into the Dow Jones, look at this massive sell-off. Let's look at a 1-hour chart. Look at that. I mean, just week to week, we went from 34,800 at the beginning of the week to 33,500. That's over 1,300 points in the Dow Jones just in 1 week of trading. Since the beginning of the month, we went, okay, from September 3rd. Look at that. It's like clockwork. I can't say it enough. And I kind of pinch myself, and I can't believe it myself sometimes. Okay, it's like clockwork. September comes. It's usually a sell-off month. September, October, generally going into the end of November. And then we have a rally towards the end of the year. But this is like classic trading, you know, textbook trading, okay? So, yeah, we had this massive sell-off, over 2,000 points in the Dow Jones. Okay, now looking at a weekly chart, just to give a perspective, yes, it's a massive sell-off. I do expect a bounce, okay? Question is when we're going to get that bounce, or are we going to continue selling off? I mean, there's no real level here to say, okay, this is going to be a bottom. So I don't like to choose bottoms here, okay, especially as this is free falling. Now, looking at the NASDAQ, okay, same story here, over 1,000 points sell-off on the NASDAQ. Now, that's big. The NASDAQ has been pretty strong, okay, and this is one of the most biggest sell-offs since January, okay? So that's something to consider looking at today. Now, looking at the individual stocks, Apple is at the bottom of its range, okay, not breaking lower. If we look at Facebook, also at the bottom of the range, but not breaking lower, okay? Microsoft as well. Okay, let's look at it over there at 281. It's not breaking lower. It's on its lows. Okay, let's highlight that a little bit better. 281, but it's not breaking lower. So we may see a nice bounce in the indices later today as this is going to correct itself. Now, looking at JP Morgan, didn't even break down. I mean, yeah, it's not on its highs. Yeah, it's not, 168, but it's only 4 points off of its highs. Okay, so I do expect some sort of bounce again, and you should expect it as well, because this is the type of market where you have that type of volatility. Okay, so just expect it. Lastly, looking at Bitcoin, all right, it's at that top of the range, 43,800. Okay, I'm not going to celebrate this too soon. It's going to say it's going to break out, but just think of it, okay, as it's consolidating in this upper range and consolidating with a bias on the upside. You see that bias on the upside? Okay, it's not adding so much more volume. Okay, so that's not encouraging me to say it's going to break out, but you want to keep it on your radar. Okay, I wouldn't get too aggressively short on this because I don't like the fact that it consolidated at the upper range. Okay, which means that it's a little bit stronger than, let's say, when it tanked initially here or tanked initially here. Here it's just hanging out. Okay, so that's giving me a bullish kind of flag, and if we do get that breakout, that's when I would jump in. Okay, for sure. All right, so lots of opportunities, especially next month. Okay, as the markets consolidates into the weekend. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.